Alright, we'll run on this rail again. Alright, let's see what happens on the final lap. Alright, let's once again grind on that rail. Alright, let's try to actually make this all-wall one work this time. There we go. That's more like it. Unfortunately, Dr. Eggman's gonna come in first that time. But we'll still take second. So not a bad race right there on that one. Okay, let's keep it going as we head to the next race. So this time we're gonna head off to the Gigan Rocks. And let's go ahead and use the Omni Tempest for this one.
Alright, bring it on!
Alright, here we go. Another good start once again. I got the grind. I do get a next right track. Dirty rings there. Now let's use this gravity dive. And we're gonna go grinding on this rail. I got an air ride. Let's move on to lap 2. Alright, we're gonna go flying through these rings now. We gained 159 GP out of that. Ah, dang it, I just failed that trick move this time. Let's try to see if we can get the 100 rings over here. Alright, we did. And now we have a bike. Alright, let's move on to the final lap. Alright, we'll go for this shortcut so we can punch these obstacles. Somehow that robot guy pulled ahead of me right there. We gotta try our best to catch up to him. Good thing there's a shortcut we can go for with this bike. Well, this might help me out right here. Let's see. Alright! We will barely hold on for the win right there in first place. Glad that shortcut worked out well in my favor. And that time Dr. Eggman got last. Too bad for him, but good for us. Alright, anyways, on to the next race. So now we're gonna head off to the Gigan device. And this time, let's go ahead and use the GP tank.
Alright, bring it on!
Alright, let's see what happens here. Alright, that's a good start. And this extreme gear is handy for the shortcuts that you can take on this track. I've got a GP gauge up here.
See ya!
Ah, dang, I kind of hit that wall there, but we're still going to be able to go on the right path. Okay, 10 rings. Now let's bring out this gravity dive here. Alright, lap 2. And there's another GP gauge up. There's an X-Strike track. There's a double S-Strike track. Now it's time for the final lap. Alright, our final GP gauge up is now ready. Oh, another X-Strike truck right there. That's impressive. Time to make our way to the finish line. And we're going to pull off another win in first place, just like that. I just couldn't be stopped on that one right there. So we won that race by around 12.9 seconds ahead of Blaze. And now it's on to the next race as we have 5 more to go in the segment. So now we're going to head off to the Crimson Crater, and next up we are going to use the Magic Broom.
Alright, bring it on!
Alright, let's go. Got an X-Strength trick right off the bat. I got the Vision Trap. There's 20 rings. Alright, let's get ready to fly through some rings right here. Alright, now we have the Parts Lock. Alright, it's time to bring out a Gravity Dive right here so we can hit these barrels. I missed the item! Oh man. Alright, lap 2. How did I not hit that boost pad there? That was kind of weird. I just missed that item right there. Anyways, let's go fly for some more rings. Now I'm going to try to go for the 100 rings over here. I got them. So now we got a status trap. Again I missed the item. Now Amy's trying to pull away with that lead, but let's see what happens on the final lap. Alright, let's go back to trying to fly through these rings. Very good. Alright, there's 20 rings. And we got another win in first place. Well done. Each lap was slightly better by around a second. Alright, now we got 4 more races to go in the segment. Now we're going to head off to the security corridor, and we're going to use the Wanted skates next.
bring it on.
Alright, let's see how this goes. There's another good start. Alright, we're gonna go grinding on these electrifying rails. Alright, let's go hit some fan blades with this gravity dive. Alright, that wasn't too bad. Okay, let's move on to lap 2. I think my buddy Tails just kind of pushed me a little bit. I kind of appreciate the assist right there a little bit. Alright, got one of our ring cap ups right there. Alright, there's 10 rings. And let's use another gravity dive right here. I missed all those fan blades right there. Oh well. Alright, final lap. Let's see how it turns out from here. That was a much better gravity dive right there. But are we going to hold on for the win in first place? Yes, we are! Certainly very proud of myself for that. Dr. Eggman ended up coming in last on that one. So too bad for him. Okay, but anyways, we have 3 more races to go in this segment, and now it's time to head off to Astro Babylon. Alright, so anyways, next up we're going to use the Angel Devil.
Alright, bring it on.
Alright, here we go. Another nice start. Alright, we can fly through some rings already right there. That's very nice. I literally almost fell off the track right there, but we're good. Alright, let's hit that block over there with that gravity dive. Alright, there's 30 rings, and we have our gear change ready to go. Let's see what we got. Looks like we end up with an angel right there. That's very nice. I just barely hit that block right there with that gravity dive. That was close. Alright, lap 2. Alright, there's an X-ray trick. Rings. Got some extra GP there. Alright, let's go into the final lap. And there's another X-ray trick. Whoa, I almost fell off there. That was close. Alright, this time we get a double S-strike trick. Unfortunately, I missed my chance to fly through those rings right there. But it is what it is. Alright, looks like Shadow's gonna come first that time. I just barely passed 80 per second right there in the end, so that wasn't too bad. Alright, we're all done with that one, and now we have 2 more races left to go in this segment. Alright, time to head off to the 80s Boulevard, and we're going to use the throttle this time. So now we're going to be using some random gear changes with this extreme gear.
Alright, bring it on!
So let's see how we do. Alright, and now we're going to start. I do get some rings right there from that balloon, and we got our first gear change ready. We get a ring cap up right here. I just missed all those vehicles right there I was trying to hit with my gravity dive, and we also get hit by a taxi. That's not good. At least I didn't have much rings to lose there, so it could have been worse. Unfortunately, I don't have any GP to help me through that turn, but we still got through it just fine. Alright, there's the next right trick. Alright, on to lap 2. Alright, there's 20 rings. There's more rings from that balloon. Alright, what do we get from the gear change this time? GP gauge up. I'll take that. I just missed that item. I missed that item too. What the heck? Yeah, I was too late right there. I'm trying to time my jump perfectly right there. Oh well. Let's see what happens on the final lap. Alright, S-strike trick right there. That's pretty good. Again, I missed the item. Alright, our last gear change is all ready to go. So let's see what we end up with. A back speed up. So we got one of each possibility right here that we could get for a gear change with this extreme gear. So that's pretty nice. Alright, but anyway, so we ended up coming in third that time. And it looks like Dr. Eggman got lost on that one. Haha. Alright, now let's go into the final race for the segment. And it's time to finish things off at the 90s Boulevard. What better extreme gear to finish things off with than with the rainbow? It's always such a special one to use without a doubt, especially since it's really nice that you can use unlimited gear changes with that.
Alright, bring it on!
Alright, so let's see if we can have ourselves a good final race here in this segment. Alright, there's an X-ray trick already. Oh, sounds like somebody already has a special. We gotta be careful. Alright, there's the grind. Alright, let's bring out a gravity dive here so we can hit these billboards. Alright, lap 2. There's a double A-ring trick, and we're gonna go grinding on this rail. Alright, on to the final lap. Ah, shoot, I just missed that item. Alright. Well, we did have an air ride ready for a second, but we were a little bit too late in bringing that out as we have enough rings for a bike. But that will still be okay. Alright, let's make our way to the finish line here with this gravity dive, and Dr. Eggman came in first. Oh, shoot! How the fuck did I go right into the wall like that? That was stupid. So we ended up in 5th right there on that last race, but if it wasn't for that little mistake right there in the end, we could have done better. Well, I will at least say though, we did have a lot of good finishes right here throughout most of these races. Only a couple of them we just didn't really do all that well on, but what really matters is that I did have a lot of fun while it lasted. But anyways, that is going to do it for Sonic Rider Zero Gravity for the Nintendo Wii as part of my 27th birthday special. But we still have some more games to play, and I will see you all for the next segment right after this, so stay tuned.